Once upon a time, in a very small village, lived a girl named Udwak. Udwak and her sisters lived with their mother and father in the village. It has been rumored that Udwak and her family were under a curse, as good things seemed to elude everyone in the family. For a few years, Udwak's family has witnessed one disappointing event to the other. It all started with Udwak's father's farm going up in flames one afternoon. No one knew what started the fire, but Udwak's father lost all he had in the fire. His buying and selling business were greatly affected, and shortly afterwards, Udwak's mother fell terribly ill. Udwak and her sisters too remained unmarried, as several suitors who declared an interest in them either lost interest mysteriously or had a great calamity befall them. These are the reasons why the villagers believe that Udwak and her family are under a curse, and many decided to keep away from them to avoid attracting their family's curse. One day, Udwak and her sisters went to the stream to wash some dirty clothing. When they arrived the stream, everyone there dispersed, leaving only them at the stream. Udwak and her sisters were already used to such treatment from the villagers, so it never bothered them. They spent time at the stream, washing and singing. Udwak's sisters then finished washing their clothes and decided to head home, leaving Udwak, who still had some more washing to do. Whilst Udwak was still at the stream, she saw a poor little girl who looked hungry walking towards the stream. The little girl stood not too far from where Udwak was washing, wearing a very sad face. Udwak tried to ignore the little girl, but something moved her to go check if the little girl was okay. Udwak approached the little girl and asked why she was all alone by the stream. The little girl told her that she was hungry and hadn't eaten in days. Udwak saw how weak the little girl was and urged her to sit under a tree by the stream while she rushes home to bring some food for her. Udwak immediately rushed home to package some food for the little girl. On her way back to the stream, Udwak came across a hungry looking woman by the bush path who saw the food and pleaded for some food to eat. The food was so little, so Udwak apologized to the woman, explaining that the food was not hers. She left the woman and rushed to the stream to meet the little girl, who was so happy to see her. Udwak gave the little girl the food, and the girl was all smiles. Udwak then finished washing her clothes and bid the little girl farewell as she returned back to her home. The next morning, Udwak noticed that her stomach began to hurt. She could not understand what was going on, so she decided to rest at home to see if the pain would subside. As days passed, the pain grew worse, and Udwak began to notice that her stomach was growing so big. This was strange to Udwak, who didn't understand why her stomach suddenly started growing. Her parents took her to several herbalists who tried all they could but could not figure out what was wrong with Udwak. The villagers soon began to gossip, calling Udwak a promiscuous girl. Some even insinuated that Udwak was in a relationship with the village drunkard Ekpeyong, who lost his wife a few years ago. Udwak, for some months, has been providing food for Ekpeyong as he had no one in the village, and the villagers began to misinterpret her kind gesture to him. As days passed, Udwak began to look like a pregnant woman. People laughed at her wherever she went and even called her desperate for bringing herself too low to fall pregnant for the village drunkard Ekpeyong. For over a year, Udwak's stomach continued to grow. She would cry herself to sleep every night, as not only was the stomach growing bigger, it was also very painful. At this point, no man was willing to associate or marry any of her sisters, and this made Uduak grow worried. One afternoon, Uduak then made up her mind to seek the help of the famous goddess of the sea, who many believed had the solution to most problems. The downside, however, is that the goddess always requested for something in return. Over the years, Uduak's father had warned Uduak and her sisters never to seek the help of the river goddess no matter what happened. Uduak, however, could no longer withstand the pain and decided that it was high time she paid a visit to the river goddess. She set out on her way that afternoon, not minding the pain she was going through. When she arrived the village stream, she met the young girl she gave food to a few years ago. The little girl looked at her and said, "Your family is innocent." Uduak was shocked to hear the little girl speak about her family. The girl then proceeded to reveal to Uduak all that had been happening. It all began many years ago, before Uduak and her sisters were born. Their father promised to marry a certain young lady in the village named Eme. He came with his family to see her people, and a date for their wedding was fixed. A few days to the wedding, Uduak's father caught Eme performing a ritual, and it was then that he realized that Eme, the woman he was about to get married to, was a witch. So he informed their families that he was no longer interested in the marriage and went on to marry Uduak's mother instead. Since that day, Eme has remained bitter and decided within herself to deal with Uduak's family. On the day that Uduak was taking the food to the little girl at the stream, it was Eme who stopped her to beg for some food. Eme had tried several times to harm Uduak, but none of her plans worked, so she decided to beg for food, hoping that Uduak would not give her any food, so that she would hold on to Uduak's refusal as a reason to harm her. After the young girl revealed all these things to Uduak, she handed her a white stone and told Uduak to rub the white stone on the foreheads of everyone in her family, that the curse upon their lives would be broken. The young girl then told Uduak to dip the white stone into a cup of clean water and drink, saying that the curse would return back to whoever sent it. Uduak was so grateful to the little girl and asked her who she was. It was then that the little girl revealed that she was the river goddess and that she was doing all that she was doing for free, not expecting anything in return. Uduak was so grateful as she rushed back home to do as the girl had instructed. Uduak's mother's sickness disappeared immediately, and this made Uduak so happy. Then Uduak dipped the white stone in water and drank. For a few minutes, Uduak noticed that her stomach was reducing. Soon, there was no protruding stomach at all, and Uduak and her family were extremely excited. Eme, the woman that Uduak's father promised to marry, who was a witch, now had a protruding stomach, as her charm reversed back to her. The news of her protruding stomach began to make the rounds around the village, and Uduak's father could not believe that his actions of over 2 decades came back to haunt him and his family. That was how the once cursed family got saved from the curse of a scorned witch. The lesson to be learned from this story is that kindness and compassion can lead to unexpected blessings. Uduak's act of helping the hungry girl brought about the revelation of her family's innocence and the removal of a curse that had plagued them for years. It shows that sometimes helping others selflessly can lead to positive outcomes in our lives. I hope you enjoyed the story. Please like, subscribe and leave a comment. It helps us grow our channel. I'll see you in our next story. Bye.